your vibe or this is like a tongue twister. A lot of people say your vibe impacts your tribe, which is true, but your vibe or this is like a tongue twister. Your tribe also impacts your vibe. And so there's two aspects to this that I want to talk about today. So there was a study done a couple years ago by the Heart Math Institute, MATH, like math. And what they did was they would take two people. Let's say we have Bob. This is Bob. And we've got Sally. And they hooked both Bob and Sally up to heart rate monitors so they could see what was going on in their hearts with their heartbeats and the vibrations of their heart. Okay. And they found initially they got that normal sinus rhythm that you see on shows like Grey's Anatomy and whatnot. And then they decided to switch it up a little bit. So they took Sally and they put her in a blind-proof, soundproof room so she couldn't hear or see anything that was going on. And then they did something to Bob to really piss him off. So here's Bob, and now he's angry. And what they found was that he got these like micro vibrations in his heartbeat. So his heartbeat was still the same, but there was these micro vibrations in between the beat. Now, even though Sally couldn't see or hear anything going on, she started to get the same micro vibrations. And she, when they asked her how she felt angry as well, but didn't really know why. And so what they learned from this is that our heart is sending out vibrations and picking up vibrations from others. So not only is our heart a pump that pumps blood, but it's also a sensor. And so it's picking up on the vibrations of other people around us. Now, because of our desire for acceptance, our heart will fall into vibration with the people that are around us. So if you, and you know this, like you might not have ever thought about it, but you know that this is true because when you walk in a room and somebody's angry or two people are arguing, you can feel it in your body, right? And that's your heart, the sensor picking up on those vibrations. But what you might not realize is that if you're always hanging out with somebody who's angry or always hanging out with somebody who is, full of drama or gossiping or negative, then your heart is going to fall into vibration with them. And this is part of this is why when you start growing and changing and healing and breaking the cycle, that some of the people in your world might not be totally comfortable with it. And I'm going to get to that piece in just a second. And I'm going to give you an exercise to do. So our tribe is also impacting our vibe. If we're hanging around with people who are high vibe, right? If you go to a yoga studio or you go to like a spa to get a massage or something like that, they work really hard. They put an effort into making sure that that's a very peaceful space, right? So you walk in, I walk into my yoga studio and my nervous system just goes, and my body just goes, like, it's like I can feel the knots like draining out of my body, right? And same thing when we go to get massages at certain places, because they know that the vibration matters. And so firstly, we need to look at your tribe and say, hey, is your tribe actually serving you? Now, I'm sure you've heard the saying that we're the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. And it's not necessarily just the 5. We're really an average of our community. And our online community, the people whose posts that we see most often in our newsfeed, also are part of that. So if you are friends with somebody who's just always complaining and you always see their posts and they're always talking negative, that's going to impact you. You're going to be, they're making up your average. So we have these 3 different zones that we live our life in. Let me just get this set up here. And all right, let's talk about these zones. So this middle zone here is our comfort zone. I don't really like to call it the comfort zone. I'm just calling it that because most of you will know it as the comfort zone. I really prefer the term familiar zone because it's really not that comfortable to be there, but most people feel safe there because it's familiar to them. Okay. Now, when we leave the comfort zone, we actually come out here into what is called the panic zone. And that's why it doesn't feel comfortable, right? It induces this sense of panic that we've all been told is bad. It's really, those are just the growing pains that we're experiencing in the comfort zone. Now, here's the thing. If we can stay in the panic zone long enough, we can use the exercises that we've given you in the 7-day nervous system reset, which if you don't have it, comment reset and Sid or myself will send it over. If we, let's try that again. If we can stay in that zone long enough, what's going to happen is we're going to come back to the growth zone and our comfort zone is actually going to grow bigger. So now we have to do something even bigger or bolder to get outside of the comfort zone. Okay, but here's the thing. You willingly took the step outside of the comfort zone. The people in your community, the people who make up your average, you also make up their average. And so when you do something where you step outside of your comfort zone, you're pulling them into the panic zone as well. You decided consciously, intentionally to make that choice to step outside of your comfort zone. They did not. They did not make that choice. And all of a sudden they find themselves outside of their comfort zone. Now they're in the panic zone. And what do you think they are going to do when they're in the panic zone? They are going to, their nervous system is going to move them into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Okay. So they're going to move into this emotional nervous system response that's based on survival. They're fighting to get back to their personal comfort zone. And they'll fight whoever they need to, including you, to get back there. So if they're in the fight, it might sound something like, they'll make comments to you like, who do you think you are? Oh, you've changed. Oh, what do you think? You're an expert in psychology now? What do you think? You're better than us? That's what the fight's going to sound like. It's going to be very aggressive. The flight is they're just going to ghost you. They're just not going to talk to you. They're not going to show up. They're not going to call you. They're not going to reach out. They're just going to disappear. That's what the flight looks like. Freeze and fawn. The freeze looks like, and the fawn is going to look like things like, oh, are you sure now is a good time to be starting a business? Like the economy, it's going to crash. You should just make up with this person that you've set a boundary with that they're not respecting. You should just let go of the boundary because we just, it's better if everybody just gets along, right? So they're going to go into that people pleasing and basically the playing dead mode where they're looking for you to do the same. So we want to be aware of this because a lot of times that I talk to people, they have been told things like, you need to tone it back. You're too much. Be quiet. Stop sharing your story, blah, 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 blah. And they take it to heart. They think, oh, my mom thinks that I can't do this, or my dad, or my best friend, or my husband, my wife, whoever thinks that I can't do this. But their comments to you 99% of the time have nothing to do with you and everything to do with the fact that they're in the panic zone. They don't want to be there. They didn't decide to be there because remember, you make up their average. So when you start making positive change and you raise your average on purpose, you're raising theirs. And they didn't ask for that. right? So they're going into this fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, and they're fighting you in an effort to get back to the comfort zone. So this is one of my favorite exercises to do. I highly recommend that you do it. The intention here is not to fire anybody from your life, but to look at where you need to add positive influences to your life. So there are 6 main areas of our life. There's health, there is emotional or mental, there is money, there is relationships, there is spiritual, which could be more of like spirituality, or it could be more of religion. It could be volunteering and contribution, spirituals, whatever it means for you, self-care time. And then there's career and business. So these are the 6 areas of your life. The people that you do spend the most time with, you're going to have some who have better health than you and some that have worse, and you will be the average. Same with your mental, emotional health, same with finances, same with relationships, spiritual, career, and business. Okay. So for this exercise, we're going to start with the 5 people you spend the most time with, but if there's more, then put more. Okay. Now, a couple caveats. They have to be over 18. Otherwise, if it's your kid, like I wouldn't put my son who's almost 2 on this list, because right now he's just a mini me. He's just a mini version of me. He doesn't have his own stuff. So they have to be over 18. It's possible that they have passed, but typically within the last 12 months. So if you, let's say you used to be really close with your mom and she recently passed away, she may still go on here because you're still feeling the influence of her. Okay. So you're going to go person 1, you're going to have person 2, person 3, etc., etc. Okay, person 4. So you're going to have all your people. Imagine that I have space on here for 5 people. And then you're going to go through and you're going to ask yourself, is this person a positive or negative influence in my health? Sometimes we want to protect our friends and family because we're like, they're a really good person. None of this has anything to do with if they're a good person or not. If they're a positive influence with health, you would go to them and ask for advice or have a conversation about health, whatever that looks like for you, exercising, whatever. If you're like, there is no way that I want that person's health, right? If you would not switch places with that person, they're a negative. There are no neutral influences when it comes to this. Somebody is either positive or they're negative. So you might go through and say, that person, negative. Negative. Oh, but they're a positive there. They're not so great there. Not so great there. Not so great there. So this person has a +1 rating. Now, again, we don't have to fire them from our life, but you might go through and see that, of all the people of all 5, you only have 1 positive influence around money, and money is an area that you struggle in. This was the case for me. When I first did this exercise, it was about 11 years ago now. I laid out my 5 people. Now, one of my 5 was an ex-boyfriend because we had just broken up, but we had been together for 3 years. So there was still that influence there. Okay. So the person may not currently be in your life, but if they've made the exit in the last year or so, if it's a boss and you've just recently quit within the last 12 months, then, they still are impacting you. Same with mentors, friends, everything like that, still having an impact. So I went through and I was struggling with money. And you could even go through and rate yourself out of 10 in all these areas. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, where would I say my health is at? 10 being perfect, 1 being I need a lot of help. Okay. So you could also rate yourself out of 10 in these areas. And then for me, I think I rated myself like a 2 out of 10 for money at that time. And when I went through, 0, all of these were negative. And I was like, well, no wonder I'm a 2 out of 10. I need to add some people to my life who have a bank account balance that I would like to switch places with, or who are financially literate. Okay, so this is a really powerful exercise. Again, you don't have to fire any of these people from your life unless you're like, you know what, I already know that person's toxic. I've been thinking about doing this. Maybe this is the exercise to give you the kick in the butt to set those boundaries. But the intention here is to say, okay, I need, similar to me, I need more positive influences around money in my life. And so I looked for programs where they were teaching money literacy, or there was millionaires, self-made millionaires in there, so that I could be around that energy. Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Cycle Breakers. This channel is dedicated to giving you the tools that you need to clear out the blocks holding you back so you can live the life that you desire. Now, before you go, as our special gift to you, we have our 7-day nervous system reset. These are the exact exercises that I give all of our clients in every single one of our programs to help them regulate their nervous system, to make that inner work and clearing out those mental blocks so much easier. The best part, it's absolutely free. Just click on the link in the description below and you'll get instant access.